Creator Supreme, High Father, and all the Supreme Royal High Council. Energy to energy, energy to energy. That's what it's all about. This is called 30 Years Later. 30 years later, where we gonna be? 30 years later, who we gonna see? 30 years later, what will be for all? 30 years later, will we be in a floating sea? 30 years later, will we be pioneers in the open skies? 30 years later, will we see the skies open up? 30 years later, where will you be? 30 years later, what will you see? Will it all be the same? Will we all have the name? Will we all be part of it? 30 years later, where we gonna be? 30 years later, who we gonna see? 30 years later, what can we do? 30 years later, will we run out of control? 30 years later, will the energy be done? 30 years later, will the rocks slide into the sea? 30 years later, will we be here? 30 years later, who you gonna see? 30 years later, who you gonna be? 30 years later, who you gonna see? See, be. 30 years later, just think about it.